Your wife didn't die in an accident, Daniel. Daniel froze, his heartbeat slamming against his ribs. His fingers clenched the edge of Nathaniel's desk, knuckles turning white. What did you just say? His voice was barely above a whisper, but the weight of his words was heavy. Nathaniel leaned back in his chair, studying him like a man who held all the cards. Emily wasn't who you thought she was, he said, sliding a faded photograph across the desk. Daniel's eyes landed on the image, and his world tilted. Soon his wife was in the picture, but standing beside a man Daniel had never seen before, a man who wore the same crest engraved on Nathaniel's ring. She lied to you, Daniel. About everything. Daniel's pulse roared in his ears. His wife had been gone for years, but for the first time, he wasn't sure if he had ever truly known her. The rain poured relentlessly as Daniel Carter drove down the dimly lit highway, his knuckles tightening around the steering wheel. Life had never been kind to him, but tonight, it was unusually cruel. His 7-year-old son, Jake, slept soundly in the back seat, unaware that their landlord had evicted them hours ago. With no home and no plan, Daniel had only one goal: find shelter before sunrise. As he rounded a sharp bend, headlights flashed erratically ahead. A sleek black car skidded off the road, tumbling down a small hill before crashing into a tree. Without hesitation, Daniel pulled over, jumped out, and sprinted toward the wreckage. Inside, a teenage boy, barely conscious, groaned in pain. "Hey kid, can you hear me?" Daniel shouted, prying open the mangled door. The boy's head lolled to the side. Blood trickled down his forehead. Acting on pure instinct, Daniel unbuckled the seatbelt and carefully pulled the boy out. Just as the hood of the car caught fire, he carried him up the hill to safety. Moments later, another car screeched to a stop, and a man in an expensive suit rushed out. "Aiden!" the man cried. Daniel immediately recognized him. Nathaniel Hayes, the billionaire businessman whose name dominated headlines. His face, usually composed and powerful, was now pale with fear. "He's okay," Daniel assured him. "But he needs a hospital." Nathaniel turned to him, eyes filled with gratitude. "You saved my son. I owe you everything." At the hospital, doctors confirmed Aiden was stable. Nathaniel, still shaken, turned to Daniel. "I want to repay you. Anything you need. Money, a job, a home. Just say the word." Daniel shook his head. "I didn't do it for a reward." Nathaniel studied him, then smirked. "You're an honest man, but honesty doesn't put food on the table." Daniel stiffened. He didn't need handouts. He'd struggled since his wife's death, working tirelessly to raise Jake alone. Accepting charity wasn't an option. "Thanks, but I'll figure things out myself," Daniel said, turning to leave. Nathaniel didn't argue. He simply watched Daniel walk away, an unreadable expression on his face. 2 days later, Daniel's world crumbled. His truck, their only refuge, broke down. He lost his last job after missing a shift. Worse, Jake developed a fever, and Daniel had nowhere to take him. Desperate, he returned to their usual sleeping spot behind a gas station. As he wrapped Jake in his jacket, a black SUV pulled up. A man stepped out. A lawyer. "Mr. Carter, a benefactor has paid for an apartment for you and your son. The lease is in your name, no strings attached." Daniel frowned. "Nathaniel." With no choice, Daniel accepted. The apartment was modest but warm, a stark contrast to the life he'd been living. He told himself it was temporary, just until he got back on his feet. For weeks, things seemed to improve. Daniel found work, and Jake started school. But something felt off. One evening, as he picked Jake up, he noticed a black car parked across the street. The same car had been following him for days. He decided to confront Nathaniel. When he arrived at the billionaire's estate, he was led into a massive study. Nathaniel greeted him with a knowing smile. "You finally came." Daniel folded his arms. "Why are you watching me?" Nathaniel leaned forward. "Oh, I told you, I repay my debts. But this isn't just about Aiden." Nathaniel pulled out an old photograph and slid it across the desk. Daniel's breath hitched. It was a picture of his late wife, Emily. "You saved my son, Daniel. Now I'm giving you the truth in return," Nathaniel said, his voice deadly calm. "Your wife wasn't who you thought she was. What secret was Emily hiding? And why does Nathaniel care?"